Welcome, everybody. We're back live, the Squatchers Lounge podcast right here via YouTube. No longer monetized, so we don't give an F. That's right. We're still PG-13 because we love our fans, but don't ask us what we really feel about YouTube these days. Anyhow, tonight we're talking about Cripplefoot, the Bossberg incident. And no, the man in that picture is not Ivan Marx. That is, in fact, Renee DeHenden. And this whole deal is about to get weird. Anyhow, we've got a Quasirewind and a brand new camping tips for stupids coming your way tonight. So it's going to be an enjoyable night, and another Bigfoot campfire story will finish it all up at the end of the show. So I'm here, you're there. That makes this entire thing fantastic, and we're going to have a good show tonight. Now, back by demand, whether it's popular or not, I don't know. We'll figure it out. I got some news articles to bring up for you guys tonight. That's right. We'll add the newsy section back into the show, and we'll see how that goes. Some people love it. Some people hate it. I don't really care. We're burning through time here because I love Bigfoot and I love you guys. So here you go. The man who jumped in the lion's cage thought he was a prophet protected by Jesus. Apparently not. The young Chilean man who jumped into a lion's cage reportedly left drawings and letters claiming he was a divine prophet protected by none other than Jesus Christ himself. Franco Luis Ferrada Roman, poor guy, was left gravely injured but survived after jumping inside the cage at the Metropolitan Zoo in the Chilean capital of Santiago. I feel like Ron Burgundy. This can't possibly be real, but it is. However, a male and female lion were shot dead by the security guards as they mauled the man in front of horrified visitors. Yes, that is the case. I hope this is a satire site, but I don't believe it is. I really don't. And it was 3 years ago. So, protected by Jesus or not, I guess he hasn't tried it again. Steve Cole's a Squatch detective. That's right. There's another hoaxer on the friggin' board up there. Cocked Hansen, not sure who this person thought they were or where they were going to come from, but they've literally just posted crap from ages ago as though they're original photos to them. And every time they get squashed, they pull crap like this where they just stretch out monkey pictures and believe that, that's the way it goes. No, not really. Not so much. So keep an eyeball on that. You can check out the squatchdetective.wordpress.com and then figure out who's going on with what up there. And finally, a Bigfoot convention is being held in this Alabama castle. That's right. A Bigfoot convention being held in Alabama promises to be it may be the only event of its kind to be held in a castle. Now, why that's important with Bigfoot, I have no idea, but apparently it's hosted by Kelsey Graham, not the actor, of Abnormal, Alabama, February 9th at the Sterling Castle in Shelby, Alabama. 7 speakers will make the presentation. Admission gets you access to the speakers as well as a photo booth where you can have a picture made with the big guy himself, Sasquatch, who will reportedly attend or at least some sort of stand-in. So there you go, people. Right there, it's a Southern thing. Go to the Alabama Castle and talk about Sham Squanch. Oh my God, fellas, we're dealing with a Sham Squanch. Oh.
So let's dance!
Oh, he doesn't smell like Irish Spring, and he never taught me anything. But still, I slap my chest and sing of my drunken Irish dad.
That's right, my drunken Irish dad. He was a fantastic fella. Drank you under the table, even though you didn't know. All right, let's take a look here real quick, people. Don't forget, the Cryptic Corner is alive and well. There are new stories up there. $1 a month gets you a general admission to all of the story content. As the content goes up there, it goes away from YouTube, and the Patreon account will be eventually the only place to find that content online. That's right. Why? Because YouTube screwed me, you, and everybody else. So with that, let's take a look at what we're talking about tonight. That's right. Bossberg, Washington. That's right. That's what we're talking about tonight. It's a ghost town in Stevens County, Washington. It's located on the east bank of the Columbia River, just south of the Canada-U.S. border. Bossberg had a maximum population of 800 in 1892. The town was named Young America, although in 1896 it was renamed in honor of the town's first citizen, C.S. Boss. That's right. It's currently best known for the 1969 discovery of the footprints in the snow of a supposed Sasquatch known as Cripplefoot. On November 24th, 1969, large human-like tracks with crippling-looking right foot were found near the Bossberg town dump. Earlier that year, a woman had reported seeing a Sasquatch in a nearby location to the police. The track maker was believed to be an injured Bigfoot and was dubbed by locals as the Bossberg Cripple. It's now generally known as Cripplefoot. And on November 27, Bigfoot researcher Renee DeHinden arrived to investigate, but by then the tracks had mostly been trampled by sightseers. DeHinden photographed and cast the best print he could find. He was joined for 3 days by another researcher by the name of Bob Titmus, who returned about 1 month later. After looking for 2 weeks for new evidence, Sasquatch searchers Ivan Marx, a Bossberg resident, and Renee DeHinden finally found it. On December 13th, 1969, they discovered 1,089 giant human-like tracks in the snow leading to and from across the river near Lake Roosevelt, near Bossberg. They were joined later by anthropologist Grover Krantz, who took photos and made casts, and later intermittently by Patterson filmmaker Roger Patterson and his assistant Dennis Jensen, who stayed full-time. Casts and other photos of the tracks were later studied by primatologist John Napier and anthropologist Jeff Meldrum. Those scientists became convinced that the tracks were authentic. Now, what gets lost here is the original person who found the tracks was a butcher in town, and he was the one that had reported the original tracks. The secondary tracks were found by Ivan Marx and Renee DeHinden. Now, this was before it was known to Renee DeHinden that Ivan Marx was an outright lying sack of hoaxing menace to the Bigfoot community. And Cripplefoot is exactly what led to that revelation. But unfortunately, that didn't come until after they had already worked hand in hand with him. So, speaking of that, the Bigfoot Encounters website is an amazing archive out there, bigfootencounters.com. It's been saved for prosperity's sake, thank goodness. The Bossberg, Washington Cripple Tracks, the way the saga unfolded. Krantz and DeHinden examined all 1,089 tracks in the snow on November 24th, 1969, although we just read over here that it was November 27th, if I'm not mistaken. On November 27th. So there's already some conflict on when they actually found it, but the Bossberg crippled foot's deformity was due to a congenital condition we call metatarsus atticus, or skew foot. At least that's what they wanted to say. If you go through this particular article, it'll tell you that in addition to the discoveries in Bluff Creek, California in years prior to 1969, new centers of Sasquatch activity took shape elsewhere. The most notable of these reports occurred in Bossberg in the eastern part of Washington state, just south of the Canadian border. The Bossberg tracks had a rather special claim to fame. Accordingly, the late Renee DeHinden, who passed away on us in April of 2001, dictated the events as they unfolded to Don Hunter in the book Sasquatch. In late November, a phone call came from John Green telling him that down in Bossberg, Ivan Marx, late of the Slick expedition, that's right, Tom Slick, the man who paid for all that stuff, was hot on the trail of what appeared to be a crippled Sasquatch. And by now, not one to be exploded into the hunt at every mention of a track, Renee DeHinden called Ivan Marx and discussed what had been found. He took 3 days to consider the details and then took off for Bossberg. Joe Rhodes, a resident butcher from the nearby Corville, Washington, had first found the tracks on November 24th, 1969. The tracks were in the soft soil near the Bossberg community garbage dump, and one foot appeared to be badly crippled. It was being speculated that the creature was handicapped badly enough to force it to scrounge off a man's kitchen scraps for a living. Now, when Renee arrived, it was to find the ground and most of the prints badly trampled by dozens of locals who had been drawn to the scene when the news leaked out. The site was in an area of several Sasquatch sightings reported earlier that year, during which a woman had rushed into the sheriff's office, alarmed and frightened by two of the creatures she had seen on the highway. The main road from the southern southeastern British Columbia down to Spokane. 2 deputies had made a casual check of the area, but had spent most of the time ridiculing the woman's story before an officer of the Border Patrol. That is, they had scoffed as the Border Patrol told it until they noticed it was growing dark, at which stage, showing definite signs of nervousness, they left. Renee found one good print which someone had protected by covering it with a cardboard box, and it was the right foot and clearly showed signs of malformation. He photographed it and cast a plaster mold, and the next few days he spent surveying the area and the people who lived there, talking with all he had met, making trips into the bush, and generally getting the feeling for the whole situation. Within a few days, Bob Titmus, a taxidermist and late leader of the Tom Slick expeditions, who had been living in Tittamet, British Columbia, some 700 miles north and west, joined him. The actors were gathering, and the performance that would ensue was perhaps foreshadowed by Titmus's behavior. Immediately following his arrival, which Renee describes, he went out and bought an 8-pound slab of beef and hung it in a tree. I believe he was sitting out there at night within his panel truck watching the meat and thinking that if this thing was a cripple and it was living off the garbage dump, when it came along, he would just grab it by the arse and throw it in the back of the truck and run off for home with it. That's a really, really interesting depiction of it there, Renee. So let's go ahead and take us a break there for a moment. And I don't know why it's not displaying what I was hoping it would display, but it's not. So we'll get it off of that for now. And we will get it up on the time for our quasi theory. Man, my throat is killing me tonight. I am so sorry, folks. I am getting a chest cold, and it's not going to be fun at all. So let's take a break here for a moment and listen to our quasi theory of the week. And now, quasi theories from a quasi-scientist with your host, Dean Cooper.
"'Tis the season to be sneezing. I have a cold, a rather annoying cold. My wife gave it to me. She got it when she went to the doctor's office. It's been a week since it started on me. It's the first I've had in several years, despite my wife trying to give me hers a couple of times a year. Here's where I do the required quote from Wikipedia. They usually resolve in 7 to 10 days, but some can last for up to 3 weeks. The average duration of coughing is 18 days, and in some cases, people develop a post-viral cough which can linger after the infection is gone." I had to modify that quote a bit because the author apparently didn't understand common English usage. Great. They might as well have said, "You'll feel like crap for a couple 3 weeks, get used to it." The most annoying thing about a cold, to me anyways, is when you sneeze or cough and somebody says, "God bless you." If you believe that God will somehow cure someone because you declared that God should bless you, aren't you trying to countermand God's will? Didn't God give that cold to that special someone to begin with? Isn't everything God's will? And which God? I find it difficult to believe that the presumed creator of the heavens, earth, and hell, well, hell, let's throw in all the possible other universes and alternate timelines and subdimensions and all things quantum. Where was I? Damn sneezing attack made me lose my train of thought. I edited out of the audio. No need to splatter my audience with it. Bad enough it splooshed my monitor and keyboard. Oh yeah, God. That's where I was. Okay, so if you insist that God cure someone's cold and you want God to then cure that cold, aren't you basically trying to order God around? Sounds like you're treading on dangerous grounds there, my friend. Time for some Our Fathers, Hail Marys, Hare Krishnas, and maybe throw in an Om Namah Shivaya or two. What if you're a pantheist with a whole pantheon of gods? Which god or goddess is the god or goddess of the common cold? What do you offer that god or goddess as a sacrifice to bribe him or her into curing a cold? Burnt Kleenex? Light up a lamp filled with high-octane, high-alcohol content cough syrup? Gallons of orange juice spiked with vitamin C? No, best leave God and or gods out of it. Goddesses too. You could say, like the Germans, Gesundheit, which literally means be in a state of wellness. But that's essentially an order, and we all know what happens when Germans start issuing orders. Now I gotta go blow my nose and hawk up a lung. You may read the text of this on my blog at bydean.com. It's BHAIDIN.com.
Yeah, we all know what happens when Germans start issuing orders. Yes, we do, Mr. Dean. All right. Well, that brings us up to our camping tips for stupids for the week. That's right. From the gone camping mind of Jevin Moore. Let's give it a check out here for the week. Whew, my poor throat. It has seen better days. There you go.
Camping tips for stupids. Tip number 75. The weather outside is frightful. Snow and cold and crapful. But I'm in a tent with a wood-burning stove. Fuck it all. Let it snow, let it snow, let it snow. My daddy taught me that ancient hick chant, and I'll teach it to my son, assuming the world will still be here by then. Winter, it's fucking here. And what better excuse than winter to bring out the big tent with a wood-burning stove, even if it's only in the backyard. Wood has been around since before ancient aliens destroyed the dinosaurs, and is even better at burning and producing heat than dinosaurs, especially now if you put it in a metal box with a chimney. They make a fair variety of tents, from nylon to waterproof canvas that can support the use of a stove, and a nice variety of stoves to choose from, with components for drying or hanging clothes, boiling or heating water for coffee or teas, or even a flat hot surface on top for cooking food, like using food with food. You never know when Godzilla's gonna come through and stomp on your house. And sleeping in your car is dumb and shit. So get yourself a tent with a stove and camp in the middle of winter. It'll put hairs on your hairs, deepen your voice, make your farts smell like hot, wet iron. This has been Camping Tips for Stupids. Remember to spay and neuter your idiot population.
Make your farts smell like wet iron. I don't even know what wet iron smells like, but hey, thank you for all those camping tips. No, seriously though, if your tent's not set up for a wood stove, don't use one, please. Please, I beg you, don't do that. That's just dumb. Okay, if your tent's set up for a wood stove, hey, more power to you. But if it's not, don't do that. Just dumb. Okay, it's time, everybody, to say hello to everybody hanging out in the shout out hangout on YouTube tonight live. Let's see who is all up there. There's a whole bunch of people up there tonight, so I want to make sure we say hi to each and every one of you. Don't want to miss nobody, so say hi to me in the chat box, otherwise I don't know you're here. Hunter is always up here quick. I appreciate that. Hello there, sir. Mr. Dean Cooper, that's right, there he is, sir. Shinigami Hamato, welcome, sir. Let's see. Mr. Fang, 333333333. Knock. Who's there? Well, I'm here now. How you doing there, champ? Timothy McCune. Hey, Tim, how you doing there, champ? Glad you're with us tonight. Mr. Forrest Cop checking in. I like that guy. Hey, June 12th to June 16th. That's what we're doing this year. So don't forget. In the Pi Valley, and as soon as the government shutdown is over and I can make reservations, I will. but we're kind of in a loop for those retards to figure out what they're doing with politics, because that's just stupid. But yes, June 12th through June 16th in the Pi Valley are set in stone. That's when it is happening. You can contact me on Facebook or YouTube or sloungepodcast@gmail.com to get your reservations in. It's going to be a small group this year. It's open to the public. Anybody's welcome to come, but I'm only going to make like 15 reservations, and then we're going to figure out what's happening from there, because it gets all confusing after that. Anyhow, there's plenty of space available. There are plenty of sites available as well. Miss Natalie Smith is in the house, as well as Spike Jeff. There he is. Gone camping. There he is, the German Moore. How you doing, sir? Glad you are with us. Thank you for the camping tips. I'm going to skip that one because I'm not going to be called racist. Rod Dupree, he's always in the place to be. That's right. Glad you are joining us, sir. Some of these ridiculous names are really just not going to get mentioned on the air, so just keep that in mind. Don Reif, hello there, sir. Glad you are with us tonight. That's right. The June 12th through June 16th, I just got a message down here. Some fabulous commenter says the Reverend Jeff says that everyone is fake. Well, no, not everyone is fake, but yeah, Todd Standing is definitely fake. Sorry there, champ. Grabber by the Paulides. Speaking of Paulides, I challenged him again openly to the June 12th through 16th camp out for an open debate on Bigfoot, missing 411, the color of bubblegum on the street. Anything that fool wants to openly debate with me against me, I will be glad to do so, Dave. You have been challenged 3 years in a row now. Ken, welcome, sir. So glad you were here. I know that Christopher's out there. He's probably eating vegetables with ketchup and cheese, but that's okay. You can definitely get away with that. There we go. Can Squanch is in the house. Mountain Beast is in the house. I know there's other people here as well. Your Hobo Man 5 showed up. Hey, glad you made it. So glad. Keith Harden is here. Karen Robb is here. Hello, hello. Keith Harden is here with us. James the Grower is here with us. I think I might have missed you last week, and I don't want to do that this week. Sorry, bro. You are VIP number 1. Karen Robb, I know I said that just a moment ago. Krista Mazda Truck Gal, how are you doing, young lady? Lance Windsor, that's right. Birthday boy, Lance. How you doing there, man? Happy birthday. Lowrider, that's right. He is, or she is in the house. I don't want to assume your gender identity, I guess. Maria I.L. Allegria. I hope I came close to pronouncing that last name correct. Hello there, young lady. Glad you are with us as well. Mr. Dave Jackson. Don Reif, if I didn't say your name earlier, I'm expecting you to be to this camp out now. That's right. Come hang out with the Reverend in the Pi Valley. We're getting down here towards the bottom. I know there's more people than this. I don't want to miss you. But there we go. There's Cal Angeles 92. Hello, or Cal Angels, Cal Angles. I don't know. I'm dyslexic, so that's a whole bunch of things running together. But I'm saying hi to you specifically. Hi. Oh my goodness gracious, great balls. Michael Bird's in the house. Hey, there you are. There's the Squatch box. I knew her and Christopher would show up eventually. The Reverend Matthew Gaines, Reverend. Trey Thomas, hello there, sir. Glad you are with us as well. A hot, wet iron. Yeah, I have no idea what a hot, wet iron is. Is that really what they smell like? I'm not sure. Let's see here. I don't know. Donald Liverance, how you doing there? Glad you are in the house with us as well. And if they're DMV Raider, hello, 86. Glad you were with us as well. Aaron Duncan, howdy. Michelle Obama's bowel movement is just, I can't. Max McCune, he's in the house as well. I think Kevin K 831, how you doing there? Santa Cruz checking in. All right. And I think that, my friends, is the end of the list. If I haven't said hi to you, then make sure that you say hi to me again in the bottom, and I will make sure that I say hello out to you at the end. No new Muppets. That's right. The Toddinator. No new Muppets. All right, back at it. And this time I'm going to put it up so you can actually see what it is that we are talking about here instead of staring at my Patreon page, which was not the intention of what I wanted to do in the first place. So here you go. Take a look at the Bigfoot Encounters page. Now, the picture up here, that is Renee DeHinden and Don Bennington and Ivan Marx. And if you look at the track that Ivan Marx is holding, that is not the Cripplefoot track. Not at all. But that is what they pulled out of the snow for 189. What he's holding here in the center is a handprint. And I actually have a copy of that hand cast, but unfortunately it is in storage for the moment. But you look here on the right-hand side, this is what the tracks looked like in the snow. But this is what they looked like in the mud. And to me, they're different. They're absolutely not the same thing. However, whatever the case may be, this left-hand picture is what Dr. Krantz drew in to Cripplefoot's cast to kind of show the kind of deformity that it most likely would have had versus the other foot that was not defective at all. However, at this time, the thought of Sasquatch tracks being cast thought that they were actually casting the shape of the foot that left the track there, when now we know that you're not casting the actual foot shape, you're casting whatever the shape left in the impression of the substrate that you're casting. So say a Bigfoot stopped and shifted his weight to his left foot and kind of ground it a little bit, or shifted positions or shifted directions, you could still get a print like this left in the ground without it ever being defective, because of the mid-tarsal joint that is supposedly in these Sasquatch feet would allow it to move in different directions than a human track would actually show. So to say that this was the original tracks were crippled, we don't really know, but definitely these 1,089 tracks through the snow definitely reflected it. But however, those were found, if not even made, by Ivan Marx. Now, Renee DeHinden was starting to get that there were two different events here. Now, Marx jumped into the car and headed back down the road, and they went to grab some photo equipment when the snow prints were first found. DeHinden's first thought as they rode down the highway was that the people in the Jeep they had passed, hyper alert to the possibility of hoaxers. He considered them immediate suspects. With this in mind, he told Jim to check the Jeep's license plate and Ivan to look for anyone he might recognize in the vehicle. Between them, they were able to identify the occupants and later asked them if they happened to have seen the tracks. Yes, they said they had. And what had been their response? We got the hell out of there fast. So it becomes the question of what happened after this that brings the questions of the Bossberg tracks into question. The problem with the Bossberg tracks are Ivan Marx's documentaries. Now, Ivan Marx, the man who's directly involved in all of these the secondary find, the snow track finds, and all of that information, he is now later in years been proven to be a hoaxer. So much so that he had a Bigfoot suit of his own created so that he could film this Cripplefoot Bigfoot and follow his migration from Washington to Alaska and back every year. Now, what doesn't make any sense is, one, a crippled animal like this isn't going to make a journey of 1,000 miles. It's not going to happen. Two, we don't really hear of Sasquatch moving any more than about 300 miles across the range from different tracks that we found across a lifetime of that animal. But back in the 1960s, when all of this stuff was unveiling, any information that came out of it was just so important that everybody just kind of lost their mind and bought right into it. If you look online, you can find copies of Ivan Marx documentaries, and you can watch them for yourself and see that they are outright hoaxes. Now, why do I bring this particular track cast up? Well, the Butcher found the original tracks. Renee DeHinden came down and investigated the original tracks to find them plausible, possible, even quite reliably Bigfoot. However, he never bought into Ivan Marx's 1,089 tracks through the snow because no other find like that had ever been made. Ivan Marx was the kind of guy who would do that. Once the documentary came out of Cripplefoot, of course, everybody distanced themselves from Ivan Marx and no longer worked with him and pretty much wrote him off as a hoaxer. The strange thing of Ivan Marx in the modern day of Bigfooting and something that we have to understand is that Ivan Marx trained Tom Biscardi. And Tom Biscardi is one of our current hoaxers that are out there. And Tom Biscardi was involved with the Rick Dyer rubber suit in the early 2000s. So we literally have a chain of custody that leads from the biggest hoaxers today all the way back to this this hoaxer of Ivan Marx, this plague upon the Bigfoot Society. At one time, was Ivan Marx a realistic investigator? Maybe. But like a lot of people, including like Todd Standing, they try for so very long to get any kind of evidence that they can get that eventually they fake it to get the fame that they believe that they deserve without it. And that just becomes the problem. The Cripplefoot tracks began Sasquatch Circus in Bossberg over a course of a few months. Bigfooters of all types flocked to the Sleepy Mountain, amongst the, of course, were Roger Patterson, John Green, and all kind of people that were involved in it. A mysterious prospector named Metlow appeared one evening in the Bigfooters trailer headquarters. The man, who was pictured as some sort of shrouded pale devil incarnate, instigated a bidding war for control of an actual Sasquatch that he managed to trap in a deep mine shaft. He refused to let any of the men view the creature, and the delectable offer divided the diehard group. With remote financial backing for each side, the bid grew every day. Swept up with excitement, Renee's bid of $55,000 placed him on the top of the heat. Excitement faded quickly as Metlow suddenly withdrew his proposition. So there's all this, there's all of this just creepiness, this charlatan stuff that goes along it. As a matter of fact, here is the YouTube video, and I will not play it, of the Ivan Marx Sasquatch footage. You can just search for that on YouTube, and it'll actually come up. And you can plainly see that it's a man in a suit acting like Cripplefoot. And that's the shame of it. Did something happen in Bossberg, Washington? My opinion, most likely, yes. The Butcher was probably authentic, had nothing to do with Ivan Marx until after the fact, and Ivan Marx was trying to capitalize on it with the snow find once Renee DeHinden was there, because he knew that Renee DeHinden would be out of town quickly if something else didn't pop up. So that's kind of our investigation into the Bossberg prints of 1969, 2 years after the Patterson-Gimlin footage. And, what do I think about these particular casts? I think they're a reach. I'm not even sure that the original Cripplefoot was as crippled as they want to make it out to be. But I do believe that there were two different events there. I do believe that the original dirt casting event was a genuine thing, and the snow casting by Ivan Marx and the like, and the circus that came with the trapped Bigfoot and everything else afterwards just leads to too much down the hoaxing path. And with that, my friends, that's going to wrap it up for this edition of the Squatchers Lounge podcast. We're going to wrap this up with a Bigfoot campfire story. I'm going to take a quick peek out there and make sure that I didn't miss anybody in the hangout shout out that I should have said hello to. So I believe we've got it all covered out there. I'm so glad you are out there. There's Titan Glass 88. Hello there. I found you. I didn't miss out on you. I'm so glad you're there. And we will be back at it hopefully next week if I don't have this horrible cough. If I don't get this horrible sickness that I feel is coming on, it's definitely going to be something else. So check out the Patreon feed at patreon.com/cryptid corner, and I'll do a short hangout here after the show for a little bit, let my voice rest, and I thank everybody for being here. Until next week, may the Squatch be with you. What the hell is that? I don't know about you, but I'm pretty sure that was a Bigfoot. Let me tell you a story. Well, this story was told to me by a fellow named Travis. Now, Travis was a lifelong deep trail camper, as he liked to fish in places that were tough to get to in the mountains of western Virginia. After a week at his location, a strange visitor showed up. Well, let's just say it got a little hairy. Let's hear his story. I had scheduled a trip up to the Shenandoah River State Park to fish for a couple of weeks, and, well, as usual, my fishing partner backed out at the last minute. So I was on my own once again. I traveled up to the park by car, and I left it in the parking area and packed in the 5 miles to my campsite. After setting up camp, I had set off to find that deep pool that contained dinner. After an hour of searching, I located what seemed to be a quiet spot to catch some nice rainbow to smoke on the fire for later on. And sure enough, 30 minutes later, I had 2 nice fish in the basket. So I went ahead and gutted and cleaned them right there and headed back to camp. I got back, set a small fire going and set the fish in some tin foil with some lemon and some garlic and some thyme and set the pockets on the fire to cook. I had walked back to the trail to relieve myself when I noticed what first seemed like some odd markings on a couple of the trees. It was as if someone had stood there and beat the crap out of the trunk of a tree with a baseball bat. The bark was all depressed into it and pushed into the meat of the trees as if something had used that spot over and over again. Even the base of the tree was beaten down as the soil around it was compacted, as something heavy had stomped all around it on a regular basis. Strange, to say the least. A couple of days later, on my way back to camp, I found a big old log that somehow found its way across the path that led back to my camp. I just traveled that way yesterday on the way back, and it was clear of anything of this size. Took a look around, and I couldn't find any place where this log had come from. It was as if something or someone had carried it into that location and put it in my way. Yet another odd occurrence happened that night when I turned in for some sleep. About 2 a.m, I was awoken to what sounded like breathing outside of my tent. I must admit, I was disturbed at first, but I spoke softly as not to scare whatever it was. I slowly unzipped my tent, and then a loud knock rang out directly from that location I'd found a couple of days before. I ducked my head back inside the tent, and I sat there till morning, pretty unnerved. As soon as the sun was up enough to see, I got out of the tent and began to collect my thoughts about what happened. I have no idea what can knock on a tree that way, but that isn't anything that I've experienced before. I decided that had been just about as much excitement at night as I could stand. I decided to pack up camp and head back out to the car. An hour later, I was walking along the trail when something hit the back of my pack. I needed a break anyhow, so I took it down and sat down for a rest. When I noticed it was a rock, that's what hit my pack. Someone or something just threw a rock at me. I gathered up my pack and started to head on my way, and just then another rock was slung at my position. And another, and another. Well, at that point, I was pretty much ran all the way back out towards the car. Finally, after 45 minutes of being paralleled and having rocks thrown at me, I finally reached the parking area where my lone car awaited. I tossed my pack in the car, and I drove out of the area as quickly as my little Prius could go. I have no idea what it was that week, but I'll bet I really won't like the answer. Travis had a run-in with something with fingers, and at least that's what it takes to knock on trees and throw rocks. I'll bet he looks at camping differently now. Thanks for listening. I'm Reverend Jeff, and may the Squatch be with you.